So here we are. We're looking at a debrief of the question 4 from the March 2020 exam. I'm assuming you've done this question. I mean, if you haven't done this question, have a go at it. Don't just look at the answer, have a proper go at it, and then come back and have a listen to and a consideration of this video. So please make sure you have a go at it. Now, if you have looked at this question, you'll realize that really it's 3 totally separate questions. And the first part of the question is an independent thing. Well, let's have a look. What would I do? I'd open up the requirements. Yeah, there's the requirements of the question. I'd cut and paste and select all of that, and I'd drop it into the word processor. And what I've got here to cut to the chase is a beginning of the question which says there's no need to refer to any of the exhibits to answer part A. So I can just get on with it. Now this is for 10 marks. There are 8 marks available, and then there's 2 marks for professional marks, which are effectively, discretionary for writing a clear, coherent, proper answer. Now, what are we getting for 8 marks? Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information. Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information has become important and influential consideration for investors. So that's interesting because we're looking at this question very much from the perspective of one of our stakeholders, the investor. And you will find in every exam there is an angle where we're putting ourselves in the shoes of one of the stakeholders, and the major stakeholder is our investors. 8 marks. 8 marks. Now, normally I say 1 mark per valid point. I can't come up with 8 valid points here. This needs to be a little bit more. There needs to be a clarity and a quality. You can't just come up with a list of 8 points here. I'm going to aim for 4. You have got to think. What are we being asked? Current development, global trend, more extensive, quality, regulatory demands, market demands. Why there is a need. Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information has become an important and influential consideration for investors. It's not, is it good, is it bad? It's not, what is the regulation? But it's discussing why the disclosures of sustainable information is important. So if I'm going to get myself the first few marks, I'm going to think that I want to write something, which is about what sustainability really is. And that's my first angle. Now in the exam, you've got to write in proper sentences, but this is my detailed answer plan. Each of these points I think can be developed. Sustainability is about taking a long-term approach, taking the view that the business needs to survive in the medium to long term. And investors, if you think about it, also are taking a long-term view. I mean, if they're taking a short-term view, they're speculators. Take oil companies as an example. These have an unsustainable business model because there's a limit to the amount of oil in the ground, and cars are moving towards electric cars. So they need to be thinking about how they're going to be sustainable and communicating that. And to that extent, Shell, as an example of an oil company, is now massively investing in green energy. So I have begun there to think about talking about sustainability. I hope I would gain a couple of marks for such an approach. Disclosure of information. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we're recognizing assets and liabilities, but it means that we are making notes in the accounts.